Sure.
Alright, so it all comes down to this. Episode 45, we've now collected the Macran Crystal. We've now collected the Muonic Inducer. Having defeated the Shi'ar Empire and Galactus on our way to do this. And now it's time for us to actually go and fight Doom.
Much has transpired since you were last on Earth.
So that planet should look familiar.
Did its best to defend itself against.
And yeah, that guy should look familiar too.
The greatest weapons were as nothing before Doom's power.
Not exactly sure what the Predator drone thing is all about. At this point, Doom has Doom's god power is pretty much going to nullify military success. You get a broken Hulk, a broken Gambit. I think Hulk is I want to say Hulk is a DLC character. Gambit, I don't believe is. And then we have Colossus, and it's just... and Cyclops. And it's interesting, because you can see Doom, well, other than the fact that he's beating on Colossus here.
Doom found he could also use his powers to corrupt.
You can clearly see Doom corrupt Colossus. And that gives us a hint
And with this discovery,
as to what he
began corrupting.
is going to do to the other heroes who happen to be around here. But amusingly, that's not the only thing Doom's going to do. I won't spoil it for you just yet, because that's at Doom's castle, and we have to fight our way through Stark Tower. Well, I say fight.
As well as every other major city on Earth.
You know,
Before we can do anything else,
Stark Tower is
we
now
get our
green.
headquarters up and running again.
Almost
Go
like
to the
somebody's been
power towers
redecorating.
and activate them.
So yes, if you had thought at the end of Spider-Man Homecoming that Dr. Doom was the guy who purchased Stark Tower, congratulations, you were right. So now everything is just like it was, except it's green and has strange statues in places. Alright, so we're hanging out with Nick Fury, but we need to go and mess with some red X's up here. You can see even our shield points are now green. So we'll go hook up the power junctions. So there's going to be 3 of these. So we're still following the rule of threes at this point. There's number 2. And finally we just need the main one in the middle, which is not at the big computer, but actually over on the side. Alright, so Nick Fury powers the tower on up. And hey, we've got some friends.
It's like shooting fish in a barrel.
If you remember the end of Iron Man 3 with the House Party Protocol, well, that's basically the same thing here. Or maybe maybe Avengers 2 with the Ultron not Ultron drones, but the Iron Legion. This is basically the same thing here, except that they serve Dr. Doom. So we got to go into the lab and go save Nick Fury.
It's gonna take
Or
a lot
not.
more than a couple of cheap toys to take me down.
Colonel Fury, I show multiple bogies. Inbound.
More of Doom's troops?
Well,
Yes.
you know,
There's an army of them headed your way. But if you give me some time, I should
All
be
right,
able to
so
set up an EMP pulse that will
Nick
take
Fury
care of
unfortunately didn't take care of
Roger
all
that.
of these Doom
Hank,
guys.
Contain them by locking this room down. Don't open
So,
up until we've destroyed every
We're
last
going to let
one of
Hank
them.
basically
will do.
drop an
Team, I
EMP
hope you're
blast
ready
to
for
take
a
out all
little
the
party,
electrical
because it looks like we have a
objects,
few
thus
guests
the
to
Doom bots
entertain.
that might be here. But it's going to take him time to set that up, so we're going to have to keep these guys busy. Now this is a timed segment, so as far as I'm aware, these guys will continuously spawn into the area as long as the clock is running. So we're going to be fighting a lot of Iron Mans. Every Doom Iron Man has the Iron Man costume from the 60s, just colored in the green and silver of Doctor Doom. And color-wise, it works really well. So, I mean, you know, so that's kind of cool. But it's also our first hint that we're going to be facing villainous versions of some of our heroes as the fight with Doctor Doom continues. Well, this is one of our better Spider-Man Ultimate attacks here.
Eliminate the trespassers.
I win.
And again, the elemental resistant character is not a big deal for this team. But while we're fighting, I guess, over the next minute 46, we left the last video talking about Avengers 4 and talking about possible things that could happen to the heroes. And I basically told you that I think that the only way you get rid of Rogers is to depower him in some way. I mean, he could sacrifice himself and die, but I really don't think they want to do that. Although, these are comic book movies. I mean, they could always start breaking their rules and start bringing people back from the dead. And not on a time travel story basis, like they're probably going to do in the fourth Avengers movie.
Eliminate the trespassers.
So, like I said, I don't know how you get rid of Tony. I think you get rid of Thor by having him rebuild Asgard on, you know, in space somewhere. You just don't hear from him. I think you get rid of Steve by depowering him from the super soldier serum and just letting him live a normal life, either with Agent 13 or somebody else. Tony, I don't think you can take Tony out of the game, but I think you, but you've got to make it so he doesn't have access to, or he's not particularly interested in putting the suit back on.
Yeah, I didn't realize.
For one
how
thing,
much
his
I
suits
missed
had
this.
become ridiculous
Been
anyway.
Too long since I've seen some real action.
Perfect. Just like I thought. The skies are clear now. Not a robot to be seen anywhere.
Good.
All right,
You can open
so
the door now, Hank.
we've solved
Come
the
on,
first problem.
Let's get out of here, team.
We've cleared Stark Tower of rogue Iron Men. So anyways, I think you could follow up on that line from Iron Man 2, sort of make him the Secretary of
Well, if
Defense,
Doom didn't
give
know
him
we were
something
here
to
before,
do,
He sure does now. And that's fine.
but
because we're as
he's
ready
got a
as we're gonna
hand
be.
Rhodey, the
Has managed to power the muonic inducer with the McCran crystal, but be
I would think he has to
You'll
hand
have to
Rhodey
actually
the keys
touch
to the
Doom to
Iron
steal
Man
some of his power.
throne, perhaps Iron Man
Signal
identity,
tries to
because
work.
Rhodey was Iron Man
You will too, once you
in
steal his powers.
for a
I
couple
suggest you get to
periods of
Latveria as
time.
soon as possible. You'll
So it's
find
not
Doom
impossible
is
for
more information
for
on
Tony
the
to
mission
sort of step
parameters,
back
talk to Black
and
Widow.
let
And when you're ready to
Rhodes
go, let me know.
take
I'll
over
fly you there.
as Iron Man for future films.
I wish you good luck on this final mission to face Dr. Doom. I am sorry to report that they
I
have
think
not
that
been heard from since they left
there's
Attilan.
supposedly a Black Widow movie on the horizon.
While the Inhumans are
That's
quite
going to
powerful,
be I think
I can only assume that they were inducted into Doom's
movie
growing
based in the
army of
past.
minions.
God, every time I see Vision in one of these conversations, I so wish that he would actually do something, like be a playable character, rather than just an exposition machine.
Our time is running out, so I will be brief. Dr. Doom's conversion of the people and cities of Earth is almost complete.
And we're being told that reality is falling apart because of Dr. Doom's growing power.
A dare is developing in reality because of this uncontrolled use of power.
So
You will have to travel to
there's our
Latveria
emphasis
and confront
there.
him at Castle Doom. By using the items you gained while in Attilan, you should be able to steal Doom's powers and return things to normal. To get to Latveria, talk to Colonel
But while
Fury.
Black Widow's on the
He will
screen,
fly you there in the Quinjet.
we have the Black Widow movie coming out, but I think it's going to be a thing set in the past, not the future or the present.
The structure has grown to enormous proportions and is constantly
And I
changing
think
to fit
I don't
Doom's
know
mood.
if her
It
character
is most likely protected by an army of former superheroes.
her character's kind of ubiquitous in a way. I mean, it'd be very easy to stick her sort of in any situation, any story, so I don't even think they need to kill her off necessarily. But if you're just looking to get rid of characters, she's certainly right there.
No trouble at all.
Looking at other original Avengers, Hawkeye's story's pretty clear. I think that his family got wiped out in the snap. And I think once they come back, he will retire permanently. So, oh God, more trivia. Or actually, these questions look like they've been answered, so I'm thinking that... Nope, actually not. Okay, so we're going to be going through a lot of trivia here. And again, I don't know a ton about the comics. So some of these things I've guessed, gotten lucky, or I've seen somebody else go through this segment before. But so, while we're going through the quiz machine, we'll keep up how you get rid of characters without getting rid of characters. So I think that you depower Rogers. I think that you send Hulk off to rebuild Asgard somewhere far away. I think you let Hawkeye retire with his family for good, which is sort of what they were hinting at him doing as early as the second Avengers movie when we discovered he had a family. Black Widow, as long as Fury is still around, I don't see why Black Widow can't still be around from time to time, unless there's some character she decides to run off with. She obviously can't run off with Hawkeye. And her relationship with Banner didn't get much attention during Infinity War, such that I think you can more or less ignore it. And of course, the Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson chemistry that's been so good in some of these other movies. I think it would be really odd if they decided to let her run off with depowered Cap. But it's one thing you could do. So I just think that Black Widow is a character that you could keep or you could lose, and you're not hurting yourself either way. She's covert enough that you could just ignore her. She's covert and not special enough that you could sort of ignore her in some future situations. And she's useful enough that you could easily drag her back in. So that's kind of where I sit on those guys. Hulk, I don't know about the Hulk. If Bruce Banner and the Hulk reconcile and find balance in the fourth Avengers movie, then I think the Hulk storyline is truly dead. And I don't think there's anything... I mean, there's always something you can do with the Hulk. But I don't know what exactly that would look like. Again, the way to get rid of the Hulk is the same way you get rid of Steve Rogers. You depower him. You find some way to reverse the accident that made him the Hulk in the first place. And that could be done by hero intervention through Tony Stark or Steve Rogers, or or it could be done by a villain who's just particularly savvy to that fact. But that's much more a Doctor Doom thing than it is a Thanos thing. Although I will point out, Thanos still has control of the Reality Stone. And if he just wanted to use it more scientifically, he could do all the things I was talking about. He could rob Steve Rogers of the serum and rob the Hulk of his transformation ability without too much trouble. So I could see a scenario where in a final battle with Thanos still somehow having the gauntlet. For at least part of the battle, that after, I think that the major issue, which would be like sort of reversing time or whatever. Well, no, where you would lose Rogers and Banner because Thanos would use the Reality Stone on their powers. Because Thanos is very deliberate about not killing people. Well, Thanos is actually pretty wishy-washy about when he kills people. But in Avengers Infinity War, he clearly made the choice not to kill several of the heroes when he had the opportunity to. Because their deaths were not his motive. He was interested in getting the gauntlet complete so he could get the true prize, which was killing off half the universe. So, that's... So, I think that could be more where that's headed. I think, obviously, we could have, at the end of Avengers 4, a sort of reverse scenario to Infinity War, where the original Avengers survived and we're looking over the sort of the remains of the new guys, to where the new guys survive and look over the remnants of the original Avengers. And so that's something that could happen. But I don't think it's an accident that we're going to lose Captain America in theory and gain Captain Marvel at about the same time. So you still have a superpowered captain character in the universe who's time displaced. As you move on. So yeah, I think that's... So that if you wanted to, I think that's how you do that. I think you have the Reality Stone depower Rogers and Banner. And then once that's happened, they become just normal characters, and they can do and go anywhere, and you wouldn't call on them to do anything except Bruce Banner to be, you know, scientifically adept.
Bring me those 2 items. I think I can set you up with something.
In the future, you just wouldn't do that, but they would still be around. You could, if you had to, or if you saw money, you could always re-inject Rogers with the serum or something like it. Or you could always have the Hulk not truly have lost the ability to Hulk. To get those guys back. Without even having to go the sort of Amadeus Cho route or whatever. You've also got enough guys who pick up the mantle of Captain America to still have a Captain America. It just might be Bucky or Sam Wilson. It was kind of weird that Sebastian Stan signed on to like a 9 or 10 movie deal when he was hired as Bucky. So, you know, that's something to think about. I don't... It gets interesting when you start saying, what do you want to see? Like, people want to see a Black Panther sequel. People want to see Spider-Man Far From Home, and then the future Spider-Man films. There's going to be at least one more Spider-Man movie, and I think more than that. We're interested in seeing what Captain Marvel's origin looks like. Maybe that'll be a character that we want to see more growth from. But, you know, you start getting into the, do you want to see a Bucky Barnes movie? I don't know. Do you want to see a Bucky Barnes, Sam Wilson buddy movie? I have slightly more interest in that than the Bucky movie. But,
Very good. Now
you know,
I have both of the things I
to
need.
what end?
Give me a second. There. This device should help you against a lightning attack by Dr. Doom. Wish I had better news to give you.
Promoting the B team to the A team, you know, just leaves some problems. Or do you go, after all this time, do we go the Avengers disassembled route? Do we bring back everybody from the snap, including the Scarlet Witch, only to kill them off in a Avengers disassembled-like event?
We don't have much time.
So that we
Let's make
can
this quick.
begin to introduce the new teams, like the Fantastic
Everything changed
Four
just like the land.
and the
Everyone is
X-Men,
affected by this mindless
to a universe
waste.
where the
Seems
Avengers
to have made a point of turning
were
all
there and then they
superheroes
were
on Earth
gone,
into
at least
servants.
temporarily.
Your team is the last hope for this planet.
Because I think that, you know, there's still interest in seeing what a Marvel
Once there,
Fantastic Four movie will look like. There's still an interest in seeing what a Marvel X-Men movie will look like.
Doom ain't gonna let that go without a scrap.
I think that if you go the Avengers disassembled route, where after Avengers 4, which is going to shake up the status quo anyway,
as predicted, tears are developed.
where you basically have the B-team Avengers, and not,
Pretty soon even Doom
but the B-team in the sense that it's not going to be Hulk and Iron Man and Thor
are left unchecked.
and Captain America.
The universe will unravel in a matter of months.
And then you let Scarlet Witch and Vision's relationship develop to the point where she loses control, or
I don't know any other way to put it.
to the point where she loses control
Look,
for some
we've
reason.
had our differences over the course of this little adventure, and
Or you could do what they did in the comics with the retcon and bring in Doctor Doom.
I can't ever afford
Because
to
I think a Doom movie a movie specifically about Doctor Doom is on the horizon.
Don't worry, Colonel. I am prepared.
Wolverine.
Even if he's not the main villain of the next phase,
Yeah, I've always wanted to fight someone with the powers of it.
I think that
Don't
we're
worry,
going to
Colonel.
see a Doctor
We know
Doom
what's
movie
riding on
sooner
this. We won't fail.
rather than later.
Good luck. And watch yourselves.
And I'm not saying that just